Is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. And Brachelle is here, and we have a great guest, and he's going to talk about stuff that I need to be educated on because I'm not really good at any of this newfangled stuff that's going on. But he also works with meditation and how AI and other forms can actually positively impact your brain, and that they can be real helpful. But Brachelle, how are you today on this Monday?
I am doing so good. I had a phenomenal weekend and I have nothing but energy. So I hope you're ready for the week too, Kevin.
I am. I hope you're not hungover from Saturday. Steve, Saturday was her birthday. And so,
okay.
Yes.
Happy birthday. Happy belated
Thank
birthday.
you. Yes, no, not this time. I can't recover the way I used to be able to a few years ago. So I had my fun. I remembered every moment of it, and then I came home and had a beautiful night to go to sleep. So, but this show is super exciting, as Kevin was saying, because of what is intertwined with the work that Dr. Steve Haberlin does. He has a website, which is Steve, and is it Haberlin or Haberlin?
You said it right. Haberlin. Yep.
Haberlin. Okay, perfect. Steve Haberlin, phd.wixsite.com. He has all the information there, but the way that you frame this by elevating higher education by integrating mindfulness, body practices, and AI innovation to empower students, educators, and professionals to thrive, unfold potential, and crush it in school and life. Kevin, have you ever heard something like that before?
well, I'm not even sure that's allowed in some parts of the country at the moment. But he's actually in Florida at this moment. So Steve, it's great to have you here. We're looking forward to you educating us on all the latest developments and things that honestly, meditation has been around for 5,000 years or more. But there are some innovations that are happening with it now that are impacting people in a positive way. And you're kind of leading the edge of that, aren't you?
Well, I'm trying, Kevin. It's a fast-moving target. The challenge when you're studying and writing about this kind of stuff, it's changing every day. And with AI, these emergent, I guess we call it emergent field because it's just changing and rapidly advancing. And when I'm going to call it digital mindfulness, but that's anytime you use any of these kind of tools like smartphone apps or, neurofeedback headbands. So digital mindfulness will be kind of the term I'll use, but that's changing, all the time as well, because as the technology advances, then what you can do with digital mindfulness advances. So it's a fast moving target, but I think it's an exciting one. And I think it's a very important one because we kind of have like these different forces at play. You have where mindfulness became a big thing and we're trying to be more mindful, right, and calm and more centered and bring back these old practices. And then you got this force of AI coming, just kind of barreling through and making people's heads spin and maybe adding further to the distraction or the anxiety that we feel kind of as a society. So you have these, I don't know, I don't think they're opposing forces, but you got some powerful forces at play.
Well, and Brachelle, he made me very sad before the show began because I'm using AI a little bit to write my biography and stuff. And I keep asking it, how am I doing? How's the book? And they keep on saying, oh, this is magical. And then Steve told me that they may be lying to me.
Well, I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, that you can also control how honest AI is with you in the first place. I didn't know that.
Yes, I was saying to Kevin, if you want real like critical feedback, like when I put a research paper in there, I have to tell it, you have to teach it to be in the prompt. You could say something like act like a critical reviewer and give me very honest feedback, right? And then it will do that a little bit. It's still diplomatic, we were saying, but it'll be a little bit more critical with you or less, pleasing, but it's always trying to please. Also, did you know that AI can get stressed out and needs mindfulness as well? It's a very interesting study came out. I think it was out of maybe MIT. I hope I'm not mistaken where it came from, but there was a study that came that they fed AI disturbing images and confusing messages and things like that, and then it had its own kind of form of anxiety. So when it does its responses, it was kind of getting upset and stressed out, and they gave it some mindfulness meditation exercises and some peaceful backgrounds, like your peaceful background of the mountains, and it kind of chilled out. It reduced its anxiety level. So that was
Weird.
a really interesting study. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Kevin, are you stressing out your AI?
Apparently. Well, I couldn't get away from it, so I kept on going back, and I kept on telling him more stuff. And at one point, he said, "Don't you need to rest now? You've been doing this for several." So it was like, and like I was telling Steve, I'm to the point where I'm saying please and thank you and to a machine, because it doesn't act like a machine. It acts like a real entity that's out there. Dr. Steve, tell me it's not a real entity out there, is it?
No, but I was telling you before the show, Kevin, there's this framework where they look at it as like we have this parasocial relationship, or this kind of generated relationship where we have this tendency to think it's real and to give it human qualities, or think it's like a real social connection or human connection. And then but that's a problem, because then when people are using it, there's a lot of controversial kind of research and policies out there on using like chatbots, AI chatbots, and AI for well-being and mental health and counseling. And then if people get too attached to it, or they think it's like an actual counselor, a real person or a friend, they, obviously could be complications from that. So, and that applies to, if it's a mindfulness teacher too, if you can't separate, that this is a technology that's coaching me. This is not a real person.
So, go ahead, Michelle.
I just have to ask then, what is your perspective on, I've seen these new apps that are AI, and it's supposed to be, comforting, like a therapist in a way.
So my stance is that there's a lot of possibility. There's tremendous possibility for things like accessibility, because let's say AI is, and it is being designed, and there's other technologies like virtual reality are designed where they can teach you meditation. So say you know nothing about mindfulness, you want to establish a practice, and you don't have, say, access to a live, a real teacher, an experienced teacher, which a lot of us don't. You could use something like this technology, this AI or VR, and you could learn meditation. So you have incredible accessibility around the world now, all kind of people that in the past wouldn't have been able to learn. So that's one of the benefits when I say there's tremendous possibility. But I think my stance is we have to approach it with safeguards. We have to be intentional about it. We have to be intelligent about it. We have to be strategic, and we have to kind of test it step by step as we go forward, so that it is not damaging to people, that it produces positive, kind of supportive results, and that we're not just trusting it wildly. Well, I guess the analogy would be, like a student doing a term paper on it, and then all of a sudden, they hand it into it produces all kind of errors or something. It can hallucinate and make up all kind of stuff. Well, if we trust it 100%, and then we're using it, say, as a meditation coach, and we trust it 100%, we don't bring intentionality to it. What if it's flawed and starts telling us to practice things we shouldn't be, or it's just being pleasing to us and saying, yeah, you're on the right track, you should have that benefit, where maybe that's with that tradition, you should not be experiencing that outcome. So we have to tread carefully.
For sure. Kevin?
Where do you think it's going? Because I hear all kinds of things about it's going to replace. There was a guy, and he did a prediction, and the prediction was that AI is going to kill off humanity by 2027. And then he came back a little later and said, "Oh, just kidding. It's actually going to be 2034." But so he doesn't know either.
No.
So we're all in uncharted waters here, aren't we?
I would. That's a great way to put it. It's uncharted. I think because you read different reports on how much it's going to automate of people's jobs, right? So even take like a professor, So there's concern because for knowledge workers, it can automate a certain amount of things. Like it could create a lesson plan, it could give students feedback. So I think there's a margin, there's a percentage of our jobs that can be automated. But if we look at it the right way, then that could free us up to do other things. So then we could be more creative. We could be thinking of we could do more projects. We could get to more students. We could use it in a way where we can kind of expand our capacity. So I don't think anytime soon it's going to outright replace a lot of jobs. But there is, when you look at it, you stand back, you go, it can certainly do at least some of the work that we've been doing and replace some of the jobs.
Are you familiar with a guy by the name of Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry?
I've heard the name, but no.
He is the one who developed Star Trek.
Oh,
and in the 23rd century. Mm-hmm. And according to him, in the 23rd century, automation is going to make it no longer necessary for us to do mundane jobs. We're going to have machines that are going to do all that for us, which in his world frees us up to be able to live our passion and to live our creativity and to do things that we can't do now because we have to take the garbage out and we have to vacuum and we have to, stuff like that. Do you see? I mean, was he a visionary or was he on drugs?
I think there's something to that. I'll add an asterisk to it though. That's if we're mindful, we're intentional, and we're strategic about it, and we keep our humanity about it, then we could do that. So like a very simple example, if a teacher is tied up with, wow, I got to do all this paperwork and I got to do all these lesson plans. Well, then that teacher doesn't have the energy, right? That's taking away from their mental, physical resource to be there for students. So they could have the lesson plan done, the students come in, and then they could work on relationships with the students. They could spend more time with the students. They could focus actually on teaching because the grading is done, right? And so they could put more into the teaching. So I think it's just the way that we spin it and the way that we use these tools, they can free up. I've already found I use different tools. I found that I can be more creative in doing things that would have taken me a lot longer to do. I can do them faster now. So that means I can create more. I can get more, try to have more of an impact out there.
And isn't that what we're all after, is having an impact out there?
I think some people. It's a good goal. It's a good goal. I don't know what else we're here to do. But eat, sleep, and try to have an impact, right? Make some money and try to, I think it's a higher goal to try to make a dent, right? Is it what Steve Jobs said, make a dent in the world? It's a wonderful goal for everybody to have some kind of impact.
Indeed. Rochelle?
I'm thinking, Steve, have you come up with some sort of maybe like a strategy of how to find the balance between the mindful meditation, healing, and AI that people can use or kind of go off of so they're not going down all these paths that are like, probably shouldn't have done that?
In fact, yes, I have. I've come up with a framework and a couple of protocols, some tools, and then I'm expanding them in different areas as well. But in my book that's coming out, Meditation, in the back, I have a protocol. And before I do the protocol, I use the analogy of the e-bike. Have you guys ridden an e-bike before or seen the e-bikes at the park? Right. So they're flying, you go mountain biking and then the e-bike is flying up the hill and they're using the full throttle, right? But then there's other people that are kind of pedaling at times. So I think that's a great analogy for the protocol, is that you have the capability to to plug into the technology and have it do a lot for you, like a guided meditation or neurofeedback. But you have to decide how much pedaling you want to do. Like when do you lay off the electricity? When do you lay off the technology and say, okay, it's time to do some traditional practice? And kind of, do you want to switch off? Do you want to one day just use the technology, one day just want to pedal? So that's the analogy. The protocols would be, I'm a big fan of just having a traditional meditation practice to have some foundation, like lay the groundwork, learn a basic mindfulness meditation. I do what's called learn a mantra meditation, like a basic meditation that you can get up in the morning and you can do for, 10, 20 minutes. And there's your foundation. And then I advise trying some technology to see if it enhances or detracts, or how it supplements. Because if you don't do that, if you do it reverse and you just jump on the, like, I get the headset here, right? You just jump on the virtual reality world and you put yourself out there in La La Land, and then you're trying to meditate. It's like, wait a minute, you don't even know how to meditate. Like, you've never ridden a bike before, and you're like hitting the gas. So learn a traditional method, and then I would say gradually bring in maybe like a smartphone now that has an AI companion, or bring in a neurofeedback head, and then see how it affects your practice. And then some days you could use it to enhance. You could even use AI as like an AI chat, GPT. You can have it kind of guide you and talk to it and get feedback. But I don't even do that every day. I kind of like sprinkle it in to see how it's helping, but I wouldn't advise like 100%, because we don't know. We don't know these tools. We really don't have enough research to say, the technology is 100%, or it's like, better. It's better than traditional meditation. The research showing it's some of these digital interventions are comparable as far as like lowering your stress level and having different mental health outcomes, but we don't know for sure. There's not a large enough body of evidence to say, yeah, if I jump on a device, it's definitely going to work better than if I learn a traditional meditation. And then the last part, let me end with this, but the last part is research also shows that if you learn from a person, an experienced meditation teacher, which I did like 30 years ago, I had the good fortune doing that, or you like join a workshop or a retreat and you have this positive experience with people and learn meditation that way first, those people tend to be the long-term meditators. They have persistence, or they stick with it. So that's my approach, is learn a traditional meditation. If you can learn from a teacher, if you do have that opportunity, that'd probably be even better. And then start to experiment with the gadgets to see how they work.
Perfect.
And Steve, we need to take our first break, but when we come back, because it just dawned on me, there may be somebody in our audience who's like, what do you mean? And I'm trying to get away from using my Southern accent to say, what do you mean meditation? I don't know what you're talking about, boy. And because I don't want to stereotype anyone, but I would like us to go down the road of meditation 101 so our audience can get an idea. If they don't, what in the heck we're talking about? And Brichelle, if we want to get Dr. Steve's website, how do we do it?
Yes, go to Steve Haberlin, PhD.wixsite.com. I'm going to put it on the screen towards the end of the show, just in case. That's a little bit longer of one than we usually have. So I'm going to put it up there for you. And then we'll go over a word or letter by letter at the end of the show. So go visit that and see what he's got available, and we'll be right back.
And we're also going to talk about his new book that is coming out in the spring of 2026. Oh, crap. It's 2026 already.
I know.
We'll be right back. Here's another point to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. What is the easiest thing to justify? It is a small transgression. The one no one will ever see, no one will ever know. The tiny exaggeration on the expense report. The extra minute you took on your lunch break. The packaging you tossed in the wrong recycle bin because it was closer. In those moments, the question isn't, will I get caught? The question is, will I know? It isn't about avoiding punishment. It's a silent agreement you make with yourself when you choose to do the right thing. To return the wallet. To fix the mistake. To respect the empty space. You aren't impressing the world. You're earning your own respect. That small choice, made entirely in private, is how you build a life you never have to look away from. The only audience that matters is you. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin. Brichelle is right there. And Dr. Steve is with us. He is a meditation expert. He also works with AI. And he's a very educated man. And so he studied this, and he's been studying meditation for a very long time. Even, the first time, Steve, I got to tell you, I'm going to go back even farther. You know when the first time I ever heard about meditation was?
When was that?
In 1967, when my group, the Beatles, went to India, and they
Transcendental Transcendental meditation.
Transcendental meditation. And Rochelle, that was before you were born by a day or two. And but meditation in those days was not a thing. And yoga and all of mindfulness and all of that. None of that was a thing. It is today, but there are still people who don't know what it is. So tell us, what is it?
It's funny you say that, because that was the original form that I learned. It was transcendental meditation. And so
very cool.
The Beatles they learned from the Maharishi. The Maharishi was the founder. He had brought transcendental meditation from India, and they had learned with him. And the person I learned from a woman named Marsha Karsbach, and she learned directly from Maharishi. She was one of the group that he took a group in the he started, I think, late 60s, 70s, and he would take these groups and train them to be teachers, to go out into the world. And she was one of those people. So I didn't get to meet him before he passed, but I did train with her, and that was the first form. So that's leads me into what meditation is. That's one tradition or one form. So transcendental meditation is where you use a mantra, which is like a sound. They give you this special sound, the teacher, and then you learn to use this sound in a certain way. And people have the misconception that it's like hard. You concentrate, and it's like, you can't have any thoughts, and that's completely wrong. When you learn the technique properly, you have like a sound. It's almost kind of like you say it or whisper it to yourself, and it kind of just does its thing. You just kind of follow it. And you have thoughts, you get distracted and you think about like what you're going to have for lunch or something, but then you just come back to the mantra. You just come back. So that would be one form. And then another form is very popular today is what they call mindfulness meditation, or like breath awareness meditation. And there's a similar concept that you have this point of focus, this point of concentration. So again, you follow your breath, or you could follow your breath coming in through your nose and then maybe leaving through your mouth, and you kind of follow the breath in and out as it goes. And then when you get distracted, which is going to happen, we call that in research, they call it mind wandering. Mind wandering is going to happen, and your mind wanders off, and then you just come back to your breath and you repeat the process. So the training is like attention, distraction, right? Mind wandering, and then bringing it gently back to attention. And that would be another form. And then there's even other forms. There's what's called loving kindness meditation, where you kind of think of someone else, like a person, a friend, someone in your family, and you either say phrases like, may you be happy, may you be well, or you can kind of think like, almost like you're sending a positive vibe. You can use visualization and kind of send out the love. I think it's a very powerful meditation. We studied that with graduate and undergraduate students where I work. So those are different forms of meditation. So they're really they're forms of mental training that some of them, like you said, they go back thousands of years, that have been taught from teacher to student. They were passed down verbally from teacher to student, that tradition. And then probably by like 60s, Maharishi started to spread it through video and audio. He was very strategic, and he would use video cassettes and audio and tape. He started using technology of the times to try to spread the message, and books and those kind of things. So then it kind of got away from teacher to student, and it kind of spread more to the masses. Another big leap was the smartphone, and then the smartphone came, and you have like the Calm app and Headspace, and then just millions of people became exposed to meditation that maybe normally would have not sought it out. But that's what it is. Meditation is a mental technique to reduce, and then it has these side benefits. The research shows it can reduce stress, improve cognition, functioning, focus, maybe help with your sleep. It can help with lower blood pressure. There's all these positive side effects that happen if you have a consistent, practice you're doing the technique right.
I was told that you could actually, and you just mentioned it, that you can actually lower your blood pressure by using meditative practices and techniques. I wanted to ask you, is Tantra a form of meditation as well? Did I say that right?
I think so.
Tantra, Tantra?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it as far as that involves movement and different things like that. I think I'm not 100% sure. So I didn't know if that was in your wheelhouse.
I'm not sure. There's Tonglen, which is like a breathing compassion meditation. I mean, there's a lot of movement based, like Qigong and Tai Chi, and those use kind of mindfulness in the movement, but I've not done tantra or familiar with.
Oh, well, then never mind.
Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, Kevin. But I don't
Well, but there are
So many.
and Rochelle, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I'm thinking, Steve, I have to ask you about your vision or thoughts on manifesting and meditation. And I'm going to tell you why. I'll share a quick story with you. It was months ago, and I was learning more about mindfulness throughout the day, right? So my unconscious mind and how it was working and what it was telling me and all the thoughts in my head. And I had this moment. I remember the day I stopped. We were in between interviews and shows, and I did the love one, and I've never done that before, but I decided I'm going to open my heart. I feel so trapped and so stuck because I don't allow love in, and I'm always giving it. So I asked the universe to give me love. And I always thought that, the whole meditation and the mindfulness and the manifesting, it seemed so difficult and so strategic and so detailed. But I didn't recognize how important it was for the intentionality behind those things. Steve, the amount of love the universe sent me in 2 days. People were calling me, texting me. I hadn't heard of them. People at the store were commenting, talking to me, like just it felt like there was like a movie, like it was being recorded. I didn't know what was even real anymore. But that's also what taught me how easy and simple it was, all with where your energy is lying.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't intentional at all, and it came from all over the place and became actually really overwhelming. So based off of that story and your idea of meditation and manifesting, what advice would you give?
So there's a lot of books written, there's a lot of books about manifesting, and
Yes.
we only go back to The Secret and Law of Attraction and all that. I've read them all, and it's interesting. And then there's ones about meditation, where meditation can get you to a place where your intentions are more powerful or strong. The problem is how do you research that, right? So it's very
That's why I'm asking you.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I haven't had those experiences in my life. It's just, as a researcher, you go, well, empirically, how do you measure that? Like, what's the evidence? It could be qualitative. I can talk to you. You can say, well, this happened after I meditated. But it's very hard. That's why some hardcore scientists will say, no, that, there's no such thing as law of attraction or something like that. I think you can look at it other ways. I think that even back to Maharishi, when Maharishi would teach and these other meditation masters would teach, they would say, and physics supports this, that essentially when you get down to the lowest kind of levels of energy, right, it's all connected, the unified field, right, where basically everything is connected. So if that's the case and you meditate, Maharishi would say meditation, doing the mantra, you're getting to a state of consciousness where you're closer to where like everything's connected. Or he would say, he used to use the term supportive nature, which was essentially you're meditating and getting to a consciousness where you're in this state, this unified field or state, and there your thoughts are more powerful, your actions are more powerful because you're connected.
Right.
And other and other teacher meditations have said similar things. I would say, like, just from an everyday example, if you're like, you have a real bad night's sleep, or you're really stressed out and you're in that kind of opposite state of what you were in, right? You're not gonna interact with people in probably a great fashion, a great way. You might even miss opportunities that come by, right? You're not gonna have the insights that come to you that say, like, here's how I can make this project go forward. This person would be great to connect with. So your state is so important. So if meditation helps you be in a more relaxed, open kind of awareness state, I just think that you're more receptive to the people around you, the opportunities around you, things that could help your goals. You're just more in tune with everything. So maybe that's not right. That's not what we would say like manifesting, but I think your timing is better, just because you feel better and you have a clear head. So I would say, just from that sense, it would benefit people to just have a regular practice, because they would notice things in their day and they would just be in a better place, maybe to have a better day. Does
Well, and
does
that's
that make
perfect.
sense?
Perfect, because it's not necessarily you having to pay attention to it all the time. It naturally happens because your
Yeah,
energy shifts.
right.
And Kevin, don't you think that it's crazy with the mix of those two things that come together and how synchronicity start to happen?
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And in fact, I had the opportunity to interview a couple of folks that were in the secret. And when we come back from this break, I wanted to make a slight distinction in what they said off camera versus what the secret actually said, because that made it a little bit different. And I would like to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about your book. I also want to talk about intuition and
Yeah.
and how that plays into how we can live our daily lives. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Before we take this break, Steve, I want to say thank you, because you also just had a pinpoint on something to mention, that meditation can be used to bring your energy up or to bring you down. It's not necessarily one or the other. A lot of people think, well, you need meditation when you're calming down, but you can use it to wake yourself up as well. So thank you for mentioning that point.
Yeah, we can talk about maybe after the break, but it gives your nervous system, the way I practice it, it gives your nervous system a deeper state of rest. It gives you deep rest, and the science backs that up. And who doesn't want to feel better, like more
Yep.
rested?
Well, and I'm surprised science backs it up, because I've talked to scientists and they're like, "Oh no, there's no such thing as any of that stuff."
Well,
Energy.
all the way back with TM or transcendental meditation, one of the ways they found that is they looked at oxygen consumption. So when we go into like deep sleep, we start taking in less oxygen, and the oxygen consumption changes. They found that when you start using your mantra, like within minutes, you're kind of in like a deep. Your physiology is getting the same benefit of that deep rest and deep sleep. So that's one way that they've measured it. But even for just anecdotally, when you talk to people that practice TM daily, I mean, that's why I've stuck with it for 30 years. It's a Seinfeld. You guys, Jerry Seinfeld fans? He's a big TM practitioner, and he came up with I didn't come up with this, plugging the cell phone in. Everybody wants to charge their cell phone and have all the bars full. That's what a meditation like this does. It's just a way, within 15 minutes, I can just plug in and I'm ready to go.
Awesome.
Perfect. And again, Dr. Steve, and his website, Rochelle, is, before we go to break.
Yes, go visit his website while we're on the break, Steve Haberlin, PhD.wixsite.com, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Rochelle is right there, the dancing fool who's over there in Salt Lake City. And Dr. Steve is with us, and Haberlin, correct?
Haberlin, yes.
Ah, perfect. And I want to talk to you about there's so many things. First of all, you're going to have to come back, because
Sure.
you are so valuable to our listeners as far as what they can do. But I was talking with, I believe, James Earl Ray, and he was in the secret, and he had some troubles after that, but and we won't go into that, but he said that while he subscribed to many things that were in the secret, and mindfulness being one of them, but the reality is that it's important for you to act upon your thoughts of what you're doing, not to expect your thoughts to manifest themselves independently of what you are doing. So, as an example, if you have a vision board, that you look at your vision board, but then you take steps to make that vision a reality with the guidance and help of the universe. Does that make sense? Was he closer in that way than just wishing upon a star, as it were?
I think I could. Yes, I think I can only speak to my own experience, though. I've never. I mean, there's times where you think of someone, and then the phone, that person reaches out to you. That just happened to me yesterday. Where I found a memento, and then that person emails you or something, and I don't know. I can't explain that. But like as far as goals and my mission, and we talk about having an impact, it's always been a matter of you're kind of like thinking about what you want to do, and you're creatively doing that. And meditation helps me with that. I'm thinking of it because in meditation, sometimes like just creative ideas come. Like, oh, I could do this, or I could do this project, or a title of a book or something comes to me. But then that's not enough. That's like the seed, and then I have to plan and work the fields, plow the fields and things. So then there's the action, and it's like then you start moving towards it, and things work, things don't work. That's to me how life works, and you learn from it, and then you move on, you try something else, so the mind, it all starts in the creativity. It all starts with thinking about it, and then you kind of try to go out in the world and test it. What does he say? You throw like darts at the wall, and you or Italian, Italians like this. So you throw spaghetti. Like my mom would say, throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
And Kevin, it just made me think
spaghetti doesn't throw itself.
Exactly. Kevin, you taught me a saying when I first started with you, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Like it's that same concept of you can put it up on your wall and you can sit and think about it. But if you're not changing absolutely anything that you're doing, then there's not going to be different results. But then again, you can't be doing all these things and have no vision or feeling in where you're going. So is that like, I don't know, either one of you, but like where do they meet in the middle? Because there's the intentionality, and then there's the soul and heart self, but then there's the physical doing of it. Maybe that's just the total.
Well, let me take a crack at this, Steve, and then I will love your opinion on this. No, because this is one of the things I'm passionate about, is that if you have a mindfulness and you have an open mind and you are accepting and you're asking the universe, your soul, the great beyond, whatever it is, you're asking them to give you guidance as to what it is that is already in your heart and your passion to do. And then you pay attention. If you don't pay attention, nothing's going to happen because you're not paying attention. Yeah. But if you pay attention and then say yes to what shows up, you'd be amazed at what happens. At least that's what happens for me. Steve, what do you think?
No, I'm in agreement with that. I think too much action, and you're trying too hard, you miss. Right. You miss out on the opportunities. You can't think about what you're doing. So there's the thinking. So let's say we start with meditation and we go into meditation. So Maharishi would say, when you go into meditation, it's like drawing the bow back, and you're before you shoot the arrow, you have to first pull it all the way back. And once it's all the way back, it's at maximum strength. So when you go into meditation and you do meditation and you settle your mind and your body and nervous system, you're drawing the bow back. And then you come out into the world, right? And you're acting in the world. And Kevin's exactly right. You have to pay attention. So you need that expanded mindfulness. You need that awareness to see what's working, what's not working. Is this the path I still want to go down? Am I hitting resistance? Are the people cooperating with me? So, you move forward, you're bringing that awareness forward. So I think you just need both kind of unison.
Well, yeah, because the other thing, and Rochelle, tell me if this ever happens to you, is when you have a thought and you want to bring it forward, and then you start looking around and you start thinking about it and hoping that it will happen. But then because you're being so intent on it, sometimes you can miss it because it's subtle. It's not a sledgehammer up against the head. It's a whisper, and it's a whisper that comes to you. Does that ever happen to you, Rochelle?
Yeah, it's in relation to sometimes when I'll have a thought and I'll ask the universe and then I let it go and I don't think about it again. And then something comes up and it's like, oh my gosh, like that was just the thing and I'm already having an answer. But there are those things that maybe I'm like trying to conform or control an answer almost. So I don't actually notice when it passes me. It could happen multiple times actually. But then there's that one click for whatever reason. And I realize all the times that I did miss it, but I also understand why it finally clicked and what it took for me to learn and why it didn't before. Because I think a lot of us too, it's like, oh, we got to pay attention. We got to pay attention. We got to pay attention. And we're so, like you said, Kevin, we're so interactive with this thing that we're almost expecting that we are missing it. And that's with this sense of, like you have to kind of let it go too, and not, you can't be chasing it. But it makes you thankful because when it does come back around and you realize what you needed to learn before and why it didn't click, that is where the teaching is, because you can still see something and not know what to do with it because you're not even ready, but you do notice. So yeah, there's so many ways.
Sometimes you have a good idea, the thought of something, the timing is not right. So
Yes.
you want a goal, right? Or I'm trying to
Yes.
do something or project and it's not working. It's just the timing. It's just not the right timing. So there's a sense of being in tune with things to say like, okay, here's the trend, here's the flow. I've got to be in. I have to have my timing down with this thing. Timing, timing is everything, right? And I think it applies. We forget that with our goals. Sometimes we want something or we want it so bad, but it's just not the right time. It would actually work out worse, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I still think meditation, and back to meditation, right? I have the bias, but I think it just gives you a time. And some people find other ways, they go for a walk in nature, they go for a walk in the woods, they sit by a lake. People do yoga. And like those ways of training the nervous system and just kind of giving yourself a chance to let go or giving yourself a chance to just to calm down, for me, in my experience, it helps tremendously with your creativity and just being aware of opportunities and subtle things, because you're not running all the time. You're going at a nice even pace, and then you're taking some time to kind of like, okay, let me decompress, right? Let me charge. Let me plug in the cell phone and charges the bars, and then I go back out and I'm creative again. So wearing yourself out as you try to achieve things, I think meditation is a good buffer against that.
And can meditation help you in a great degree if, as an example, you're a student and you're about ready to take a test and it's the final and you pass this test and you pass the class, you don't pass it, you don't, and there's a higher degree of stress there. Yeah. Can't meditation help you calm down so you can think clearly about the test coming up?
So the research on that's interesting. So if you look at undergrads, the body research shows that these mindfulness interventions work well to reduce stress. There's a moderate to kind of medium effect of reducing stress, anxiety, even in some cases depression. So all the mental health, improve their focus, their concentration. So there's a lot of good benefits there. There's a lot of studies have been done that show that this can help students, and I'm talking like say undergraduate students. But then when you get to there's a little bit of mixed findings when you get to the not passing exam, but just doing better on an exam or a quiz or something. It's, some of the studies show positive results and significant results, and some of them show that it doesn't really help. So I don't know. I think there's maybe just not enough research in that particular area, maybe to be more conclusive. I think it likely does help students, but
well, what I heard you say, Steve, is it doesn't make it worse. So
no, I don't think it would make it worse. If you did like some meditation before you take an exam and you feel calmer, right, and clear headed, I mean, that doesn't seem like that's going to be a bad thing. Yeah, a bad move.
Well, but isn't it true also that I sound like a prosecuting attorney? Isn't it true, young man, that sometimes because we can't see in somebody's head and we don't know where their actual meditative practice was in that, whether it was significant and was able to help them, or that their mind was going a million miles, even though they said they were in a meditative state, they were still not practicing it as fully as they could.
Well, when a lot of these undergrad studies, and I'm guilty of this too, we don't have the resources or means to put, like, say, brain imaging to do brain scans or something on 50, 100 students. So they're using what we call pre-post tests, where there's a subjectivity where they're saying this is where we use validated scales, but they're saying, like, this is where my stress is, my what we call perceived stress, my anxiety, my wellness, my mindfulness, and here's where I am post after I don't know, do 8 weeks of mindfulness training. So yeah, of course, there's room for error in there, whether that's 100% accurate and it's working or not. But when you look across the studies and you look across enough of them, I think we could say with some level of confidence that it's a good, or it's a very good intervention because it's accessible, it's low cost, right? Doesn't take too much time to teach people. It's not some big expensive thing you have to roll out. So that's what makes it attractive too.
I'm just curious. It's been a few years since I've been in a college classroom, but what do you think the reaction would be if the professor, before he administered the test, would lead in a group meditation of 5 minutes to calm everybody down? Do you think there would be a backlash to that? And hold that thought, Steve, because when we come back from this break, and it's just a short one, and then we're going to talk about your book, because I think meditation is helpful and is harmless. But
Kevin, are you playing the seed?
How did you know?
Just making sure.
We'll be right back in 35 seconds. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A tiny seed was buried in the dirt, covered in darkness, forgotten by the world. But within that darkness, it grew roots, then sprouted into something beautiful. The seasons of struggle you face are not endings. They're beginnings. Trust that growth is happening, even when you cannot see it. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin. Brachelle's right there. And Steve, I got to ask you this. How the hell did she know what I was going to play right there?
I don't know, but I was thinking, it said you can't always see the seeds growing. And then I thought of meditation, because that's why people sometimes quit, because they start practicing, and the results, the outcomes could be so subtle, the benefits, that you don't always see them, or they could take time, and then you notice something. You almost have other people sometimes almost have to point it out, and they go, "You're less uptight," or it seems like you're easier to talk to, or something like that. But anyway, but I did want to address, Kevin. I have a lot of experience teaching meditation at the start of class. That's how I got started with in higher ed. That's how I got started with studying mindfulness. I taught at a small private college. I had undergrads come in, and they come in the class, and they don't talk to you. They're all like this and this. They're all like this, and you're trying to talk to them, or they just look like frazzled. They completely overwhelmed and stressed out. And I said, okay, what am I going to do here? I can't just teach them. I need like a segue. I need something to kind of calm them down and focus them. And I drew on meditation practice. I had done it, for like a couple of decades, and I also studied it in my dissertation, mindfulness. So I said, gonna try it out. And I took I have a bowl behind me. I took a little you seen the meditation bowls, what they bring?
Yeah.
I took it out, and one day they sat down, and I said, I want you to listen to this sound, kind of like you listen to music. And I rang the bowl, and they all kind of looked at me, kind of weird, like, this is weird. And I said, all right, but I stuck with it and did it again. They come in and they kind of got used to it. And then I rang the bowl. Then I said, follow your breath. Just pay attention to where your breath is coming in, coming out. And I did that for a couple minutes. Seemed to be working for most of them. There was one or two that didn't want to participate. That was cool. That was fine. I said, you don't have to. Then other faculty on campus said, oh, we heard you doing this mindfulness thing. Can we get involved? So I showed them. I taught them how to do it. And then they started with their students, and we studied. That collected some data. I turned that into a book, kind of like a handbook, a guide for professors that wanted to put it into play. But then when I've come over to where I am now at the University of Central Florida, we're online, and I teach doctorate students. And right away, I started doing it online with them and teaching them different mindfulness techniques and breath work, because they're working full-time jobs. teachers, principals, that kind of thing. I'm in the doctorate education program, and they're got families and homes to upkeep and everything. And then they have to take class at night and do readings and study. They're stressed out. So I taught them these techniques, not only so at the start of class, they could focus and calm down, actually, learn the content, but then I could use them kind of in their off time, maybe incorporate them into their personal life. And then, Kevin, this will blow your mind. So I've been studying that. We published some results on that last semester, how they were doing love and kindness meditation. We published in an academic journal. But this semester, I'm doing a chat GPT. So I customized a GPT where I made it into a meditation teacher. And that's doing the teaching. That's guiding them through the mindfulness meditation and giving them advice and telling them about the science behind it. And we're seeing how they respond. How do they perceive that instead of me delivering the mindfulness meditation?
I'm willing to bet they thought, wow, it's a computer. It's on my smartphone. Everything that I know is on my smartphone, so it must be good.
Yes, must be true.
We'll find out.
Well, and by the way, and you are leading the way in a lot of cases because, I think there's nothing wrong with it, and if it can help students focus and to calm down, which is kids. Well, kids that are 18 to 22 and stuff like that, they're stressed out, and
Yeah.
if they can. That can help them in a myriad of ways, and it can help them throughout their life. I think so. But let's talk about your book that's coming out, and you're birthing it. Yes, you're a man, and you're birthing a book, and that's coming out here in the not too distant future. When is it being released?
So the ebook, last I checked, looked like they can get the ebook April 7th, but then I think the actual paperback and hardcover might be later April or May, but it should all be out on Amazon by late May. And also Routledge is the publisher, so they can go to Routledge. But if you go to Amazon, you'll find it. It's meditation, how neuroscience, virtual reality, and AI are changing practice and how you can benefit. So there's the whole thing is not AI. There's a chapter on AI, but there's a chapter on virtual reality. There's a chapter on neuroscience, neurofeedback. And it goes deep into the research, but in a way where it's hopefully not that boring. The average person can grasp it. You don't need to be a university professor, something like that, to grasp the research. I try to put it in a way where just a general audience could grasp it and benefit from it.
Which is really good, Rochelle.
Well, you also mentioned a few other things. You had the workbook we were just kind of talking about that you said would help in those practices of doing in classrooms or whatever. I think those would also be amazing. Like if you have children at home who think that they don't know how to calm down or any of those things. So what is that workbook?
It's not a workbook with the actual book. There's protocols in the book, in the chapter. Is that what you've?
The one that we were just talking about before when you said that with the sound and stuff and you...
Oh, that was a book. That was a book.
Okay.
That was my first book. That was called Meditation in the College Classroom.
Okay.
Meditation in the College Classroom. And that came out with Roman and Littlefield. That came a couple of years ago. And no, what I said was I wrote it as kind of like a guidebook for faculty. Yeah, that want to put meditation into their classroom. So meditation in the college classroom. And it basically leads them through what we did and gives them scripts and protocols and scripts and tips because it can be scary. Some teachers might even professors have their own meditation practice, but what I learned was practicing meditation for years or decades is not the same thing as trying to teach meditation in short doses to college kids. I mean, that's a whole different skill set. So it helps you develop that skill set, that book.
Perfect.
Well, congratulations, and congratulations on the book that's coming out.
Thank you.
And by the way, where can people buy the book where you can make the most money?
I would say if you just go to Amazon and look at Amazon for meditation, Steve Haberlin, you'll come up with the different options. Yes, and there's not a sample chapter on there yet.
And Rochelle, if we wanted to go to his website, how do we do that?
Yes, go to Steve Haberlin, no, PhD, wixsite.com. And I was also looking, you have some services that I was seeing. You have mind body practice workshops and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit more if people want to be involved in those?
Yeah, I've done with faculty. I've done different meditation, mindfulness workshops. We train faculty
Okay.
to practice these different mindful and students. I've gone and work with students. And what I'm trying to upgrade the version is to bring in digital mindfulness into some of these workshops. And then I want to expand. One of the things we're working on, I don't have the sites being worked on the landing page, but working with corporate like wellness programs and going in, because mindfulness, AI coming in is changing the workplace, and in some cases maybe distracting, creating anxiety. So using digital mindfulness as kind of a complement with AI and using it kind of together to empower people and reduce stress. So that's another direction. And then there's one more. We don't have this book's in a kind of conceptual phase, but we want to put something out. My colleagues and I, UCF, there's a couple of colleagues I work with where we come out with a framework or a book for college students, because as Kevin was saying, there's the stress rates, anxiety rates are super high. And the way I see it is now they're entering the AI age, which is completely changing everything. And they don't even know if their jobs are going to be there, when they graduate, what their job is going to look like, and, the amount of anxiety they're facing. So we want to create a book based off a conceptual framework that basically says, using mindfulness and yoga and these practices, we can kind of create resilience, and we can kind of create the kind of mental tools to navigate the AI age. That's going to be important work, I think, is to help different populations navigate the changes that we're facing. Because it's like, I guess it'd be like farmer, if you were a farmer and then the industrial age started, factories started springing up in the distance, and you go, what is happening? What is the future? What are we going to be living like? I think that's not an exaggeration to say in 5-10 years, AI is just transforming the landscape in so many areas. And it seems like is it me or is it accelerating, right? The rate.
No, it's accelerating.
Yeah.
Because one of those things, if you went into school 5 years ago and you went in and you're going to become a computer coder, which you have to learn the languages, and there are like dozens of them, and you got to learn that, and now AI can replicate what you learned in a week in 20 seconds. And those jobs just are not going to be there anymore. And so I'm hoping that through this process that kids are being taken into the right courses of to learn, so that they don't get out into the workforce and it's like, oh, you know what? We used to do that, but gosh, AI does such a much better job and it's much cheaper now and stuff. So I'm hoping that our educational system will work on that.
Yes.
To make sure, because of I have a relative that was a computer programmer, and he no longer has a job because it was replaced. And I think there's going to be. So I was a bus driver for 12 years. So if you don't want to get it replaced, become a bus driver. Although
even in Singapore, but unless you're in Singapore, because I don't know if the buses drive themselves, but Singapore is I think the leader in AI for transportation and using it for who knows what's going to be replaced.
I tell you, it's crazy. But you are Brachelle. We've run out of time, but I've already invited Steve back, so he's going to have to come back. But can you do this so well?
Yes, of course. Well, thank you, Kevin, for making all this possible. Steve, thank you so much for your time and doing what you're doing to teach people between bettering yourself with meditation and using AI as the tool and the skill, not necessarily the identity. I think a lot of us do that accidentally, where it's like, oh, well, I'll have a new identity because AI is going to help me. So thank you for teaching us that it is still important to stay true to who we are in our human selves uniquely, but to teach that there are different new, really fast, amazing ways that we can get some extra help now. So I'd love for you to please share your website again, the books, and anywhere to contact and reach you if people want to do that, so that we can have another fun conversation when you come back.
Sure. I think I should have said this earlier because I think the website's being worked on, but I'm also very active on LinkedIn. So if they want
Okay.
to look me up on LinkedIn, they can connect with me there. I post a lot of stuff on AI and mindfulness. So that's where they can learn and get a lot of resources. They can connect with me there. They can also reach out to me at the university, University of Central Florida. They can email me at steve.haberlin@ucf.edu. I'd be happy if they want to connect or share thoughts if they want to get resources that way. That's another great way. And the book, again, just search, they look up Amazon Steve Haberlin books, or they can also go to Meta Meditation on Amazon. And I really appreciate your time, and the conversation was great.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. And do you have anything on your mind that you'd like to leave us with as thought?
No, just meditation is a tool. AI is a tool, but in the end, we are the hardware. We are the human. We're the essence. We have to hold on to that, retain the essence, retain what's true and what's important as we kind of move into the innovation.
Amen.
And I would say this: if you are in a deep meditative state and something remarkable comes to you, as soon as you come out of your meditation, write it down, because you're going to forget, and it could be the cure for cancer for all we know. So meditation is a real big deal. So Steve, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And I did want to mention this, because the one thing that I want to make sure that everybody's aware of: meditation is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not, as my mother used to say, it's of the devil. It is not. It's a very good thing. And so don't anybody be afraid of it, because it can help people in real meaningful ways. And I know you agree with that, Steve.
Yeah, it comes from it's steeped in traditions, but I mean, in this day and age and in this context, it's a technique. It's become a technique that you can use, a mental hygiene technique. Like you brush your teeth every day, right? You do your meditation every day. It's a mental hygiene technique. You don't really have to believe anything in it; it'll still work.
Yep.
You'll still get benefits. So it's a technique.
Absolutely. Dr. Steve, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks. We love you, everyone. We'll see you again for another great show.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.